Will sending the elderly to the doctors to get retested for their driver's license help the elderly and make the road safer? Well, retesting the elderly can help us get a better understanding of whether they are safe to drive or not. There are typically two tests. One is a questionnaire and the other is a neuropsychological test to see their ability on driving, and they are assessed on all basic skills for driving, like attention, reaction time, and the perception. But doctors can also face some backlash due to these tests because of some people saying it is unjust. If the elderly were to start getting retested, would that make the road safer, or would we be taking someone's basic rights away? Does the retesting actually work to improve the safety of the roads? My name is Robbie and you're listening to Golden Years Driving Fears, the retesting conversation. And today, we will be talking about the role that the doctors have in retesting the elderly. Doctors have two tests that they can give the elderly that they are already doing in some places. And the tests can work, but they can also have some flaws. Retesting the elderly can make the road safer because of what the test can reveal about the drivers. This is already being done in California and other countries like Japan and the United Kingdom. So with previous records, with the elderly making up about 10% or 34 million elderly drivers, but the testing itself still only failing about 1% of people, and almost 30% of elderly drivers voluntarily give up their license. The success rate of the testing itself varies due to the individual's condition, but if everything goes according to plan, it can have a 90% success rate. So we can see that the testing can work, but it also can have some flaws, with some of the elderly not being able to fully test to see if they're able to drive. If they get misevaluated, for example, they react too slowly to certain scenarios or their memory isn't great, then they get their right to drive taken away. And they can also take legal action and just take away the testing itself. With this information, we can see that in previous records that the retesting can work on the elderly, but there are still limitations to the testing and doctors can receive backlash. What goes into the testing? Well, there are two main tests, one being a written driver's test like one you would take before getting your permit. The other test being a neuropsychological test to see their physical conditions and their cognitive abilities, testing their attention span, reaction time, depth perception, their memory, and overall motor function, along with any previous health history. This is useful to talk about because now we also know what goes into testing to judge whether an elderly person can drive. So what exactly does this mean for the doctors that do the testing? With the negative backlash that can come with the testing, the elderly can press charges. Doctors don't want to be held liable for any accidents that may happen, or if they get in trouble for misdiagnosing a patient, it's not fair to put all the liability on the doctors. This is a big reason why retesting is not a national federal law. Doctors can also face legal trouble with families that feel that they had one of their rights stripped away from them and feel unjust with the testing. This is useful talking more on the perspective on doctors and seeing why they don't want to do the testing. At the end of the day, the testing can make roads safer, taking elderly people who have impaired driving due to their health. The testing eliminates all the people with worse conditions than others, and doctors will be aiding in road safety. Doctors will be able to tell if a person's condition is completely unfit to drive, and even though it will seem unfair, it will help make the roads safer. The safety of the elderly drivers can be riskier with their bodies becoming weaker and more vulnerable, which can also lead to more accidents that can also make them more fatal. Even though it is still a debatable topic on elderly people getting tested unfairly or wrongfully, or even just other backlash that they receive, doctors are still on the fence on retesting people. So what exactly is the end goal of retesting elderly drivers? Is it making roads safer, or limiting elderly drivers with age and putting the stress of a test on them? But the safety of everyone, and not just other drivers, but the elderly drivers themselves, putting them more at risk in case of an accident. So should there be different ways of testing that more people agree on, or is the current testing method used in other places the best way to treat the elderly? What do you guys think? Stay tuned for next episode, where we get to finally hear what the elderly have to say on the matter.